noise.
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy.
After the Jagger tour, Doug called me. Oh, during that, Tackhead was they were playing a gig at the Ritz, I think, and there was a song that they played called "Dangerous Sex," and Melly Mel from the Furious Five was rapping. He was rapping this song, and I saw Doug at rehearsal the next day, and I said, I told him the gig was incredible, I said, that song, you should let me sing that song for you. So after the tour, Doug calls me and says, hey man, can you come to London? Because that Tackhead spent most of their time in the UK. So, okay, I got on the plane, went to the UK, and there I was with Tackhead.
And what was it like performing with Doug and Keith and that whole unit?
It was incredible. It was incredible. I got to sing the song. I got to sing the song that Melly Mel rapped at that show at the Ritz. I never asked Doug what he thought about it. Well, obviously they liked it because we ended up recording it with me singing it. And I think it was a little strange for them because they had been a rhythm section for so long. It was the three of them with Adrian Sherwood, the sound cat, and with Skip, Doug, and Keith. So I think it took a little bit of them getting used to, but the way that I saw it was they were an underground band. And they would remain an underground band. And I thought by me being there, we could put them above ground. You have a singer, so now there are songs to be sung, not just grooves to be listened to, but songs. We could do songs.
Get a little more of the intimate audience connection.
Yes. And I think for the most part, I think most people were okay with it. There was definitely some resistance. I could feel it. But I was having such a good time. I wasn't going to let that deter me. I was enjoying. I loved hearing them play. I loved Tackhead. I loved hearing Skip, Keith, and Doug play. It was incredible, and it was way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time, which was another thing that I gravitated to. That it was just so unlike anything else. There was nothing else like it. And watching Skip and Doug dance around hitting pedals and samples. I don't think anybody had ever seen or heard a band do that. You manipulate samples like that and play at the same time. It was something to behold. You
And
know,
yet I think some of these same innovative and adventurous sensibilities that Bill Laswell was doing
mm,
were in common with some of what Tackhead was doing.
yes, without a doubt. Sound wise, for sure. But again, I had never seen somebody dance around pedals like Doug did at the time. And up until then, I don't think I had ever really seen. I might have heard it, but I never saw a drummer uh, playing with loops live like that. You know, Keith was playing. You know, he was playing. He was playing together with a loop, and I had never experienced that. I certainly didn't sing it, you know, in front of anything like that before. I didn't. I will say it was one of the best music experience uh, of my life up up till that time. I absolutely loved performing with Tackhead.
Yeah, well, that Hand Grenade album is seminal. I mean, in my opinion,
Mm,
there was just nothing happening like that, really, especially at that time in the late '80s. You know, with what was going on in the music industry.
right.
Um, you know, what's always interesting to me about you, Bernard, among other things, is it seems like in a lot of cases you were sort of like a free agent, but you became so much a part of different bands. You know, whether
Mm,
it's the Rolling Stones or the Herbie Hancock band or Tackhead.
mm-hmm.
You know, it's uncommon, I think, to find a lead singer that ingratiates himself and becomes so much a part of some of the acts that he works with.
Yeah, I um I was a free agent. Um, you know, I never wanted to be a solo artist. I always wanted to be in a band. I wanted to be in the bands. Doing solo projects was something that I just wasn't into. You know, even after the Peach Boys, I did have a record deal with Chris Blackwell and Island Records, and it was I did it. I was forced to do it. I did it because you know, the band didn't work, and you know, I needed to keep moving. Um, I, you know, like I said earlier, you know, one of the hardest things in music business, one of the hardest things to do is keep a band together.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, again, uh, I was forced to, and I, you know, when you're a singer, you know, when you're an artist, everybody wants to try and tell you what you should be doing. I got it all the time. And if I had listened to that, to them telling me that, I'd have been in a suit. I'd have been in a suit singing like Luther Vandross. Don't get me wrong, incredible talent,
Oh, yeah.
but I I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something edgier, and I think that probably that want of that probably came from hanging around with Bill so much and hearing all the music and Tackhead, and I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to be just an R&B singer. I did not want to be pigeonholed, and by this time, again, my head was split open a second time from being with Tackhead, and I was I I wanted and I was I was I was I was going more into I was already in this kind of industrial heavy funk thing, and it kind of borderlined rock and roll, and that was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to do rock and roll. I even told Bill when we were doing when we were working on the Public Image record. Uh, Bill was producing that record, and I think I had expressed to him about wanting to do some rock and roll, and that during the recording of that record, which was and still is one of the best records for me ever recorded. That Public Image PIL album. Oh man, that record, I still get off so hard on that record. And one day after the session, Ginger Baker's playing drums on that record.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't know this, but Tony Williams.
Wow.
Tony Williams is playing on that. Tony Williams is playing rock and roll. A lot of people don't know that's him playing drums on that. And after we had been in there, we had been working on the record, and Tony came by the studio. Watching him play was just incredible. But we were leaving Electric Lady. Now, Bill and Tony had been, they'd been talking about music and stuff. And we were standing outside Electric Lady, and Bill was saying, Bernard, Tony wants to put together a rock band. And Tony said, yeah, man, I'd like you to sing for me. I'd like you to sing for this band. He was going to do a power trio band with me fronting.
Wow.
And man, I remember leaving them, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be good. A week or so later, he died.
Wow.
A week or so later, he died, man. That just crushed, man. I could only imagine what that could have and would have been. Oof. Incredible.
And
so
Ginger, we lost about a year ago, I guess it is. Ginger Baker.
Say again?
I said Ginger Baker, we lost about a year ago, I think it is.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that was a most memorable time. Bill originally hired me to be John Lydon's vocal coach. And me and John hit it off. We hit it off right away. And people can say whatever they want, and John has his thing, but I enjoyed working with him, and in between sessions, we'd be walking up Fifth Avenue, and John would be pushing people's buttons. He was really good at that. Just he just knew what to say to that person that was going to give them some angst.
So it's just entertainment for you, it sounds like.
It was total entertainment. I would look at him, and it's funny. I would look at him, and I could see, he's getting ready to say something. He's getting ready to say something to somebody, and he would do it. Oh my God! And they'd get all uptight, and he'd laugh about it. So I was hired to be his vocal coach, and when I thought about it, it was like, John Lydon sings the way John Lydon sings. I'm not gonna try to change him. What I did do was just, I would show him phrasing and breathing and things like that. That's all he needed, because John is John. John's sound is John's sound. So I just shared, my little bit of knowledge of breathing and phrasing. And he was nailing it. But the real treat for me, I did all the backing vocal arrangements I did. And a lot of that record, I actually doubled his voice. I doubled his leads and did all the background. So I was really, happy to do that. That was something that was a gift that I don't know. I wouldn't say that I knew I had, to be able to double a person like John. That was something that Bill threw me into. And it was either, sink, swim. And I discovered that I had a real knack for it. I had a real knack for doubling voices. And I did that for John. I think that was probably the first person that I doubled a lead for was John. And then Bill calls, months later, whenever it was, Bernard, come to the studio. Okay. Go to the studio. He's producing Motorhead. And he says, I need you to double his voice. Okay. So
Lemmy?
Yeah. So, and now I think Bill had worked with Lemmy, but for some reason, he didn't get all of what he wanted. So he left Lemmy, came to New York, called me, and I doubled all of Lemmy's lead vocals for Orgasmatron. Again, it was a gift I discovered, and then it was a gift I discovered I had thanks to Bill. Bill is he's my guru. I love him. He pushed me. He made me see things in my voice that I didn't know was there. And as a result of doing that, few years later, wow, I'm just thinking about this now. Okay, I get a call. I'm at home and I get a call from Jason Casaro. Jason Casaro, New York City engineer. He's most notably famous for the Power Station. Mm-hmm. The drum sound, on that Power Station project.
Very heavy.
That was Jason Casaro. So I was home Phone rings. It's Jason. Hey, Bernard. Jason, he said, Bernard, I need you to come to the studio. He said, I'm having a problem. I'm having a problem. He said, I need you to come here. I need you to come here and give me a hand. I go to the studio. He's working with Moby. And they're doing tracks for the Beavis and Butthead soundtrack. Now, this one track, Ozzy Osbourne had gone to the studio. He had sang a track, but he didn't complete it. He left the studio before, they could get him to complete it. So Jason asked me to come to the studio to double Ozzy's voice. So that song that's on Beavis and Butthead, it's Ozzy, and it sounds like Ozzy, but Ozzy usually does his own double. Not that time, it was me. And that, I'm just going to skip. And this happened again more recently. I was working with a good friend of mine, Danny Saber. Producer Danny Saber, Black Grape. He's from LA. Danny's producing a record for Alice Cooper. Mm-hmm. And okay, I did a bunch of, again, vocal arrangements. That's something that I love doing. I love arranging voice. I love arranging background voice. So there was a song on the record, and this is on the Along Came a Spider album, Alice Cooper. It's maybe 2 or 3 records ago. There was a song that Alice wanted to do a duet with Ozzy. Sharon Osbourne wouldn't let it happen. And Alice, was a little bummed out about it. And so I said to her, Alice, I said, I'll do it for you. I'll do it. And he says, oh, Bernard, bless your heart, man. He said, no, but, I really wanted Ozzy. And I said, just wait a second. So I go into the bathroom, I get some tissue, and I put some tissue in my nose.
Get and that I nasal
go back
sound.
In. I go back in. I said, Danny, rotate. And I sang Ozzy. And Alice looked at me and said, I can't believe you did that. I cannot believe you did that. And he kept it. And I remember when that record came out, Along Came a Spider came out, I remember reading a review about it. And I got such a tickle out of this. They're talking about the record, da 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 da, and says something about and the duet with Ozzy Osbourne. And I laughed so hard behind that because
Ozzy Fowler.
It's not. And you know what? And Lemmy, I met Lemmy. This is years after Orgasmatron. I was in a club called the Mint.
Oh, in Culver City?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there many times.
Forever.
Yeah.
I'm in Mint. I'm going back up to Hollywood, and Lemmy needs a ride. Now, I had never met Lemmy before. And he says, so I said, come on, man, I'll give you a ride. I think he's going to the whiskey or something. And we get into the car and we're driving. And I'm thinking, should I tell him or should I not tell him? Should I tell him? Shouldn't I tell him? And I said, you know, Lemmy, we kind of worked together before. Oh, really, mate? Like, yeah. I said, I'm the guy that doubled all your vocals on Orgasmatron. And he looked at me. He said, that was you? He said, oh shit. He said, they told me it was some big black guy. I said, that was me. Good on you, mate. Good on you, mate.
Wow.
Sorry, I went off. You got me remembering things here.
No, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. I got some questions I got to throw at you, though, that are on my head. Um,
Go.
you know, those stories, I mean, it makes you sound almost chameleon like in the way you can, bend and shape and do what you need to do vocally, which is, a gift for sure and a skill. But I'm curious, what in your mind is the main difference between singing R&B oriented material well versus singing the rock material well?
Uh, it's it's just a feeling. It's a feeling. I think uh, R and B is more. I would say R&B. If I gotta answer this, R&B is more. It's more controlled. R&B is more controlled. Whereas rock and roll is a it's a little more freer. It's a little more freer. You know, they're both based in blues, but rock and roll to me seems a little less controlled. You can spit a little more when you're singing rock and roll. You know, where most time R&B is nice and slick and you know melody is always important no matter what you're doing. It's just it's an energy, it's a performance, um, rock and roll is a little higher energy than R&B would be, although when depending on a part of the song, they may both take on the similar energy or similar shape, but for the most part, R&B is a little more controlled than rock and roll.
I cut some clips on YouTube. There's a lot of you on YouTube, so I urge everybody to definitely search Bernard out on YouTube. Great stuff. And some of the stuff that you did in New York on those small club sets with Waddy Wachell, um, that rock stuff was a lot of fun. Really, I think caught you even doing like Sin City and stuff like that. I mean, that was a kick.
It was a kick for me. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could do that. Waddy said, "Hey B, let's do this." Okay, you know what? Something about me that that I think a lot of people. The difference between me and a lot of people is that I will try anything. I'll try anything. All they could do is say no. I've heard no before. I wouldn't be offended. I'll try it. And that is something I always say. If I can feel it, I believe I can do it. If I can feel it in my heart, I believe I can do it. And I will try it.
Well, in talking about feeling, I can only imagine what the rush is like being up on stage with the Stones at one of those massive shows. What was like the first big tour you did with those guys, and what was it like being in that situation?
It's some of that feeling I still get when I'm on stage with the Stones. Um, the rush was incredible. First first tour, the first tour I ever did with the Rolling Stones was Steel Wheels, and the first show I did was in Philadelphia. That was the first show of the Steel Wheels tour, and I mean, the energy is incredible. Listen, look, I'm a freaking Rolling Stone fan. I was a Rolling Stone fan before I even started to work with them. So to be on stage and have Keith and Ronnie and Charlie in my ear and looking at Mick, who I watch like a hawk, because when I took the Stones gig, it was important. It was important to me that the stuff that I had to sing was close, was I wanted people to feel, I didn't want it to feel foreign. I didn't want people to, because sometimes you go see a band and it's so different. Yes, Stones are different. The Stones are like a jazz band. It's never the same night to night. It's the same song, but they never play it the same. And Mick never sings the same. So there are lines, Keith, Keith is playing his act. So a lot of the background stuff or the harmonies that he would sing with Mick, he doesn't sing. He's busy playing his guitar. So I have to do that. And those parts have to be there. For me, they have to be there. And I always thought for the audience, those parts have to be there. They're singing those things in their head, and I want those things to be there. So I watch him like a hawk. And I've been there so long now that I can almost telegraph what he's going to do. If he's going to dip tonight or he's going to go the other way. I can actually telegraph it most of the time now. I mean, it took me a while to get to that place, but yeah, it's just always been important to me that, that I am really there supporting and singing the parts that need to be there, that need to be prominent. On the record, there are times where Mick's voice is doubled. He's doubled himself. So I become his doubler. I'm his, I'm his human doubler. It's not a machine. And I think I even heard somebody say, wow, man, sound man so good, man. I heard Mick's double, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's me. That's not. Or they say, oh, yeah, it had to be. Oh, this is what I would hear something. Oh, man, they're playing with the tape. They're playing with the tape. They're playing with the tape. I've heard that a lot. It's like, no, ain't no tape. Ain't no tape. We are doing those parts.
You got to be on it to give that effect.
Oh yes, and it didn't hurt having a partner like Lisa Fischer. That didn't hurt because Lisa and I were able to work it, and she's such a pro. We were able to sing in a way where it was big. We sing it big. So when that chorus comes around, it's big. You know, you might think it's three people instead of two. You know, picking the right harmonies, and singing it with the right texture. With the right texture. Which is super important. Texture is super important as a singer. Texture is important, especially if it's not your gig and it's somebody else's gig. You've got to have listened to that record so that when it's time to perform it live, that texture is there. So the people that are listening to it, they're feeling it. I want them to feel it like they feel it when they listen to the record.
I imagine something like "Gimme Shelter" especially must just be amazing to do live.
Nobody does it better. No one does it better.
What was it like to be in the studio with those guys when they're going through their process?
Man, I wish I had that luxury. Man, it's an incredible process. To hear them throw it against the wall. Let's try it this way. Let's try it up. Let's try it down. Let's try it this way. Let's try it that way. It's a lot of trying. They always come in with solid ideas, and then it's just a matter of them all getting together and creating that feel that everybody's happy with. I've been privileged to actually be in there and watch that process. There was even a time where I was there, or I was with Keith, like at the very ground level, when it's a thought in his head that he's trying to create, where it just starts with a riff and it may be one line. He might have one line. Well, at one particular time I was there, and it was just a groove that he was messing around with. He didn't have the lyric all together, and he was just playing it over and over and getting that feel. And once he got that, then I guess he would pen the rest of the lyric. But it's funny, when that happened, I went into creative mode. I was already singing the background parts before the song was already done. So when it actually got recorded, I had the parts already. And that is that's a privilege, an honor and a privilege, because everybody doesn't get to see that or be around that. So it was an honor for me.
That's amazing. I would be remiss for sure if I didn't ask you about your experience working with Bootsy.
With who?
With Bootsy Collins.
Bootsy Collins.
So that the "What's Bootsy Doing" album, you were on that one, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Man, well, come on, man. Bootsy Collins is he's one of my heroes. And up until that time, I had never met him. I'd seen him. I'd seen him perform. I'd see George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic. I saw them. That was another really heavy influence, because I don't know how George does it. Well, some of the best voices ever recorded are on Parliament Funkadelic Records. Those voices are sick. And I loved it. And, one of my heroes, you said somebody that was you asked me about an influence, was Glenn Goins. Glenn Goins was, I saw him, Randall's Island, I believe it was, and I saw him again at Radio City during the Mothership Connection. I saw that show. Oh man, I was paralyzed. I was paralyzed. I had never heard anybody sing like that in my life. Oh my God. Oh my God. Incredible. Glenn Goins? Woo. Terrible. Lord, that man could sing.
He was awesome, yeah.
Woo, that man could sing. We lost a great one there, man. You know, he died. He died so young, man. I can only imagine what was to come, because from what I had heard, he had left. He left George, and he was getting ready to do his own solo thing. And woo! And a lot of something else people don't know, the Bernie Worrell. Bernie Worrell's a singing fool. You know, when I think when the Peach Boys fell apart, I think it was during that time. Oh, let me go back even further. Remember I told you I auditioned for the band Total Eclipse, and a week later I was in Media Sound?
Mm-hmm.
I walk in Media Sound. The first person I saw was John Faddis. You know, I listened to a lot of jazz radio also, so I knew who that was. And I talked to him for a little while. Hey, man, what you doing here? What are you doing in here, young blood? I'm like, I'm working in the studio down there, you know, All right, man. He shook my hand. You have a good time, man. Have a good time. And I'm walking up the corridor, and there's a cat. He's bent down like this. He's in full buckskin. Brown buckskin. Jacket, pants, and shoe and moccasins. And a hat on. And I looked. Now, again, this is my first time in a recording studio, and I said, oh shit, that's Bernie Worrell. And I walked up, I creeped up close to him, and he was sitting down like this. Picked up his head. I said, hi, Mr. Worrell. Hey, brother, how you doing? How you doing? And then years later, I was having I believe it was after I left Peach Boys, I had some time. Bernie, I started hanging out with Bernie. And this is around time Bernie had left P-Funk for a while. He was doing his own solo stuff.
And worked a lot with Bill. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And Bernie had a friend named Butch. Butch drove the station wagon with all of Bernie's gear from gig to gig. Now, I just went because it was Bernie. I was hanging out with Bernie. He asked me, hey, come on, you want to sing in the band? I'm like, no, I don't want to sing. I just want to be here. I heard Bernie sing a version of The Sun Will Come Up Tomorrow. Man, I was in tears. I was in tears. And I didn't know. I I knew Bernie, his playing. I didn't know he sang like that. He was an incredible vocalist.
When you talk about Glenn Goins, of course, he's so prominent and well known, but a lot of those guys could sing, I found out later. Like Eddie Hazel, too, was a good singer.
Yep, all of them. Eddie, Gary. A lot of times, I think, things that you might think is Glenn is actually Gary. And and Mudbone Cooper. So I went off the subject, but yes, Bootsy Collins. I got to meet Bootsy for that album, and it was me and Gary Cooper, me and Gary Mudbone Cooper. We did all the vocals for that, and I was in heaven, man. I had, I'm sharing a mic with some P-Funkers. It was amazing, and I remember I got to the studio, and I don't know who it was, but Bill said, man, this guy walked in here. He said, just before you got here, this guy walked in here, asking if we wanted him to sing. He said, I told him to get out of here. And he never told me who it was, but somebody was out trying to fish my gig or something. But it was a great time, and we did a whole lot of singing, and we did a lot of laughing, and I remember teasing Bootsy about his shoes, and he got a kick out of that, because I think even on the record at some point, I think I even said something on the microphone about, hey man, where's your shoes? Because Bootsy hadn't done a recording for a long time. So during that record, there was some, we were doing some talking on the track, and I said something about his shoes, and he got a kick out of that. So that was a lot of fun. But also, I had a really good time singing with Gary Mudbone Cooper. We did.
He has such a unique sound.
Yes, very unique, and we worked so good together. We did Sly and Robbie.
Rhythm Killers?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Rhythm Killers and I think, I'm not sure if we both did it, but I also did Rhythm Killers and Language Barrier. I did those two records. But yeah, it was a treat, and I got to see Bootsy do his thing, and just incredible, man. I've been blessed, man. I've seen some really cool shit.
There's much more to this great Truth and Rhythm interview. Just continue on to the next part of the episode. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. And become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you very much.